love those island boys. Little girl, use your head. They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no. When they smile at you, darling, and wink, it's a lethal force that'll bring you down. Trying to get you tipsy like a drink. Love drunk girls.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered.
We're in a long-distance friendship that started over 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking about all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us, because in life, you know, Jine Malayas, aka It's Layered.
Stack.
Layered up.
Hey, especially this topic. Oh my Lord, how are you doing, my love?
I don't know if I'm ready for this topic. Let me just.
We're gonna be coming for people. Shots are gonna be fired.
Why you coming for people? Guys, please don't come for me. It was Amanda who said I'm coming for anyone. It was not me. This is not the view of It's Layered as a whole. It's an Amanda view.
You cannot talk about colorism without shots being fired.
Yeah, that's also true.
Don't you think?
It's complicated. It's layered.
It's so complicated.
Okay, Sarah, what is colorism? Let the people want to know. If they don't,
definitely the dictionary definition of colorism would be prejudice against people depending on their skin tone, so whether they're darker or lighter within the same racial group. Does everyone understand? Are we on the same page?
Amanda did not come to play. She's like, I'm gonna school you today. Yo. Like,
what do you think? What's your definition? You can give the colloquial one since I gave the
colorism is I'm better than you because of my skin tone is X compared to yours, or just some form of she said prejudice, judgment, like you're better than or less than someone because of what your skin looks like. So you're more beautiful because you have this kind of skin tone, or you're not that great because you have that skin tone. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I read somewhere where it was like colorism is racism's daughter. And
1000%. I agree with that. Fully. When did you first experience colorism? Like in your this person?
That's such a good question. I think I experienced it before I knew what it was.
Yes, same.
So definitely being told that I was lighter than my brothers, and that was a good thing. My mom and my mom's family are light. They're lighter in complexion.
Yes. And
my dad's family, they're all darker in comparison to my mom's family. So obviously it was one of those things where it was he married up. Like he did well. He found a light skin wife, you know. So then obviously when the kids come through, it's like, at least you're light, you know, because my brothers tended to be, and my brothers were darker and I was lighter. So it was like, if it's gonna happen, that's the way it should happen. Like the boys should be dark and the girls should be light. So I think those comments coming through were heavily ingrained. Like I actually remember this one time, and funny enough, not even from my mom's side, but my dad's side were more the perpetuators of it, because they would be like, wear a hat, or, you know, take care of your skin.
Yes.
And I'm like, and then my brothers didn't have to because they're dark anyway. You know, so it was like, and I didn't know it was because I was a girl, or if it was because I actually experience it without really realizing what it was. And for you?
1000%. I've also brought this up in previous episodes. Body image, I think it was. Growing up, my sister is lighter in complexion than I am too. So just the way family related to her. And I'm talking not like the nuclear family. It's like I'm talking extended family, like, oh, she's so pretty, or like comments about her beauty, like versus mine, or like, you know what I mean? Very, very warped. That's like literally from then, and it's like, oh, it could be wear a hat, or you shouldn't be out in the sun, or uchashiba, ukasangwarira, uchashiba. If you're not careful, you'll get darker. Things like that, so absolutely my family was colorist for sure, like in some way, shape or form, or whether some family members were fairer in complexion, automatically they're more beautiful, and it's like more and you also see it's also in unspoken, like some of the things are unsaid. It's how people relate to someone who is fairer, or how they would, attention or treat them, or conversely sideline you if you're darker.
Yeah,
I could go on. Thousands.
Yeah. Yeah. So you definitely felt like your family were colorist.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think you yourself are, or were?
For sure. I think you start thinking like, oh, what can, like, am I not bathing enough? You know what I mean? Like, do I need to scrub a little harder? Oh, I don't want to be in the sun too long, things like that. And there's this photo of mine. I think you've shared it on the It's Layered Instagram. When I was a kid, I had bangs and like wearing like a school t-shirt with my name badge on. And I was looking, and I think I've shown people photos of them. They're like, that's not you, Rumi. And I was like, yeah, that's legit was me as a child. Because, obviously as you grow, you grew, all that stuff. But I think I've definitely had elements of colorism, like, whether it's like being attracted to someone because maybe they're fairer in complexion, because that is deemed better. Or if someone who is fair in complexion winked your way, it's like, oh, you've got to feel privileged because like I'm a dark girl, I'm a dark skin. Like we grew up the era before it was fly to be dark skinned, by the way. I don't know. Our age. Yeah. We're aging ourselves. But yeah, so definitely. And for you?
Definitely, my family definitely are. I don't think they really realize it. I think they think they're complimenting you.
Yes.
So obviously I'm probably on the other scale. It was like lighter toned. So it was like, at least. So like they're pushing that idea that you're better. Yes. Meanwhile, you're like, am I really? Like, and then obviously when you see someone who's even more lighter than you, it's like, they're better than you. So you got to find out that there's that scale.
Yes.
Depending on the room you're occupying.
Yes.
If you're the lightest one in that room, great. But then you could enter another room and be the darkest one, right? Depending. So definitely my family were. I would say I am, but I'm the opposite.
Yeah,
I love it dark. I love it chocolate. I love it dark.
Yeah.
Black. Like that's what but I think I also grew up around men who were like that and confident and good looking. So I think I almost thought, it's funny, like even now when I look at my family, they almost live up to the stereotype. And the stereotype, for those who don't know, is lighter men are like softer and in their feelings. Drake vibes, They're gonna be singing in your ear, sending you sweet notes.
Yeah,
and then the darker guys are like rough, tough, take care of the family, put anything on their shoulders. Idris Elba vibes, like so. So I think I grew up around the men who. My mom's side of the family, the men tend to be like that by nature, I think, or maybe because they grew up like, I don't know. But then my dad's side does tend to be. So I think I saw it now. I was just naturally attracted to the Idris Elba type. So
I'm with you.
The manly man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So like, I definitely think I am. And even in how I've dated or the guys I've been attracted to, I mean, sometimes you attract to whoever you're attracted to. But initially when I see a guy walk in, typically if he's a black man, I'll have more of an appreciation for if he's darker tone. And maybe also, now that I delve deeper on that, it's because I want to be the lighter one.
Oh. You just opened a can of worms right there, girl.
You see, it might be that reverse psychology. We need a therapist up in these episodes because I think we're just throwing all these terms like
that,
but,
man, that's not how we use that term.
Yeah, that's not what it's there for. But like in colorism terms,
Yes.
I think maybe that then I'm the fairer one, like typical to how I probably saw my parents.
Yes, same. I was about to say, my dad is the lighter in complexion, though that's Zimsan farm life has done something up. Like,
that's another topic for another day. Because Namo and access can also make your skin change.
Exactly. But my mom is the darker skin, and my dad was the fairer skin. So maybe there's that play in too for me, seeing my dad, because they also say psychologizing here, if that's even a word.
Let's go, Dr.
That you are attracted to men who are similar to your dad, your father, like because your father is your first like love as a girl. So there's also that. So let's just psychologize everything. Sorry, psychologists correct us if we're wrong, because we're probably very wrong. Hey, you know.
But actually,
look at us.
I never thought about. We are, because I never thought about it that deeply. I just thought, I like my man, tall, dark, and handsome. Child. Like that's what I like. Okay, so even with white guys, I must say, like I love it when my husband is tanned. Like when he goes for summer break and he's like getting the tan on, I'm like, baby, keep it
Get that tan on.
Yeah, I get that tan. Melanoma, we'll see it later in our life. Let us just get the skin cancer. Like it's okay.
I'm sorry.
Be as dark as possible. So I think, like olive Mediterranean skin, really like, so even with it even transcends into different races. I mean, of course, we will talk about the Black experience because that's what we've lived.
Yes.
But like you see it with Asians, they want to be fair as fair. Yes. Very white, almost translucent, and then you see like there's a caste system as well. And like, so there's so many other types. But for us today, I think we're just going to be focusing on our own Black experience. How do you see it done or perpetuated in our everyday lives?
In every way, shape, and form, I think. I think for me, personally, in a personal experience in dating life, I think we've spoken about this maybe with Bo, it's layered special, layered expectation special, if I'm not mistaken. However, I saw it like, when I moved from Zim to SA, and the attention that Zim guys started giving South African women, because they're typically fairer than Zimbabwean women. And now they have access to these women, and it's like, I always think of it like a totem pole, like the fairer at the top, the darker at the bottom. And I happen to be swimming with a bottom feeder fish, like basically. So saw it in that way, saw it in like when I started grooming myself, I guess, you taking care of yourself. And the watuka manje, like, now you're fair, like you've gotten lighter, and it's like an accomplishment of some sort. And there were no geza, like you bath, and you're like, I've been bathing, but hey, whatever. I just didn't have the right creams for my skin when I was 10? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just put Vaseline.
Of course, just the generic.
Generic, exactly. So in that way too, just like how automatically people see someone fairer, it's like, oh, beautiful. But now I'm also seeing it, speaking of reverse psychology, again, being used in the wrong context here. Obviously being in a very white space now where I live, it's almost the opposite. It's like, whoa, your skin is beautiful. Like, I even had a student saying, I wish I could have your skin. Like they want.
But do you think if you had like another Black woman there who was fairer than you?
Yes. I don't know how that would play out. Do you think there'd
be a relation? Yeah, or biracial?
I think they would seem as like she's the true African. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So it becomes, the intrigue is in the more different, because here you do get more biracial people like they, around. But like a typical like Black African woman is not that often.
Yeah.
So there's that also fascination and like, ooh, black, real black. You know what I mean? Even on days when you're like, you feel like crap, like, oh, it looks beautiful. And you're like, no, this, I don't know. You guys maybe don't really see, but I don't know. I feel like it is in everything. Celebrity culture too, for a long time, was about the fairer the better, and so on and so forth. But I could go on.
Yeah.
For you, how does it play out? And maybe in Australia, like too, for you, how do you see that?
Well, definitely to tag on to your last comment about celebrity culture, I think it still is, because even though we're seeing more darker women like Yvonne OG or Issa Rae types, there's sometimes even the storyline you're given is like, they're still struggling.
Yes.
They're still in the depths of, you know, and then the biracial or lighter skinned girl has it together. They're from a wealthier family. They're from, you know,
for anyone
so it's like even
who's wondering, she's talking about Harlem. If you haven't watched that on Amazon,
so even so even the problems you're given are like of a different nature. So,
but Amanda, can I interject?
We're not winning.
Don't you think it's because maybe because of colorism, the fairer skinned are offered more opportunities, even in society as a whole? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, people are more likely.
But I think with film, there should be a bit of variety.
Yes, I get you.
You know, you can't have Empire giving us the same line, then Insecure giving us, because even Tiffany was
Tiffany was.
So it's like, all I'm trying to say is, even if they think that's the reflection of reality, it's okay in movies and film to do it different.
Yes, you're right.
You know, you can blind cast like they did for Bridgerton. They didn't have, if you were the best person for that role, you got that role. Yeah. So it's not like we have to play into these tropes all the time. And maybe people do it because they think it's authentic, but sometimes it gets tiring. It's like, I want to see a black girl. Yeah, I want to see a black girl. Not every show should do it. Like, you know, let's also have black girls being the one who has the nice apartment, and then the fairer skin is coming to stay in my apartment. I'm with you.
Though Yvonne, I will say, to be on Insecure's side, Yvonne was thriving. We will give her that. Thriving on her career side.
Definitely she was. Yeah. Which I actually funny enough, I was going to actually ask you if you think it transcends into romantic relationships.
Yes.
Because as you said, Yvonne, Molly on Insecure had a very thriving career, could buy herself whatever she wanted and had all that, but her love life took a while.
Yes, I think it does. I think we've also been coined like angry black women for the most part. So I feel like the blacker you are, maybe it's like, ooh, that's going to be the angry black woman. And then the fairer you are, you're closer to, I don't know, white, so less anger. I don't know what it is. Maybe someone can express that, but I've felt it, and it's weird. It's hard to put it in words because it's not a said thing. It's like, it's in subtlety. It's in the way someone relates to you versus when they're, you know, hitting on someone who's fairer skinned, and that jump. And I, in some situations, like, I'm flyer than this so-called person, but in those people's eyes, it was like, she's it, because it's that's the goal, you know? And I think we've seen it even with celebrities, how when they sort of terminate their first marriage to their high school sweetheart, who maybe have been a dark-skinned girl, typically when then they succeed and thrive, and then they go with someone who's fairer skinned. People have spoken like about Kevin Hart's of the world, you know, Ludacris of the world. Like, it happens. But I don't know. How has it played out for you?
It definitely, like, I mean, of course, I tried to psychologize my own self by saying I like darker guys, but I think it's also like a status symbol. And closer you are to white, the more successful you're perceived to be. Which is why I also have a problem with these Hollywood storylines, because it's just pushing that narrative as well. And why you've told me about the new show coming out, Bel Air, that's going to have a dark-skinned family and replacing Will and all them, rebooting that series with a darker darker skinned family.
Yes.
So obviously, like it's just, yeah, I think it's, people then think I've made it. Like, yeah, especially guys, like, oh, I can get her, I can get a biracial girl, or I can get a lighter skinned girl. I've made it. And then also it's better for the next generation to come, you know, which is something we probably want to put a pin in and also discuss when we talk about interracial dating, because that's also another thing, because it's like, when you are interracially dating, are you subconsciously trying to also push this agenda that you're bettering your life? We're going there.
There's just too much.
Delve deeper. So literally, it's so tough. I think for me personally, when it comes to romantic relationships, if you have a sole preference of lighter skinned or darker skinned, then I think that is a bit colorist. But if you're like, oh, you know, sometimes I date darker, sometimes it's a personality for me, then that's slightly different. Like, yeah, maybe you might notice one side, but then when you actually do find out like a bit more about them and you get attracted to them, are you finding that you're shutting the door on one side and only open to one? Then that is when it becomes a bit problematic because...
But it's my preference, it's my preference, Amanda, it's my preference.
I think people use that word very loosely as an excuse, and they need to like really dig because sometimes when people are confronted by that, but like what, you know, we see a trend here in your preference. What makes you prefer, or why do you prefer? And if the reasons are just, you know, not really personality based, then you need to question yourself a bit more, I reckon.
For sure. But do you think that fair skin in itself is actually attractive? Like, is that the thing? I don't know. Like, is that, for me, I think
oh, sorry.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, I think when you're looking at other races looking at us, they do think so, because it tends to be more Eurocentric. I think it's like less scary, more palatable. You know, like you're not
palatable,
so different. You're not so different from us. You're only slightly darker. You know, you're not that dark. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously this goes into also a fetish if you do like them really, like, but like, I do think generally, and maybe because especially if it's biracial fairness, or, you know, there's maybe you're the third generation from someone having been biracial in your family, I do think there's like a kinship that comes, like, you're black, but you're not black, you know? So I do think a lot of the stuff we push on each other within the Black community also comes from outside the community.
Yes. And I think too, though, like from within the community, there's a level of fascination with the features of like a more fairer person or mixed race person compared to a black, because black is all we know and see. Similar to how I was saying here, like I'm different because white is all they see mostly. White and Asian a little, you know, but whereas back home it's like black is all we know. This is a little different. And like they kind of look black, but then something's a bit, you know what I mean? So there's also that weird exoticism type of thing that plays into that. But I think you're right. Very, very interesting perspective you put there. Like I hadn't thought about, which is that you're closer to us. Hey, so which is funny.
Especially like in America where they're like been so mixed over generations from left Africa. Because then you get the ones who are black technically, but then they maybe have green eyes, or, as you're saying.
Yes.
So it's like it makes it a bit more unique because it's like, we're pretty much stock standard, right?
Yes.
Dark skin, dark eyes. And I think even I was saying this to my husband the other day, when we describe each other, we don't usually use our eyes. We don't say, oh, she's got green eyes. Or
yes.
You know, unless your eyes are very distinctive, we don't usually go for the color because that's something that's like stock standard.
Yes, exactly. You're right.
So
right. But what about this fetishization almost now that we're moving into an era of very dark, fetishization, that's a tongue twister, fetishization of very dark skin. We just saw like recently the British Vogue cover was released with dark-skinned Black models on it. You know, we can go into that. But yeah, how do you feel, especially you working in, you know, fashion, styling industry and that kind of space?
I mean, not to take away from that cover in terms of what they were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to see Black people on the cover.
You gotta laugh like that.
It's like, thank you for putting us on the cover, but yeah, like, I just think it's almost like you can't have any shades in between. Yes. It's like you're either dark, or you're biracial, or slightly like just light skin. But all the other shades, beautiful shades of brown that are in between are like sometimes completely ignored. Yeah, they don't matter. And I think that cover just made it like, they said it was art, but it just came across a little bit insulting because it was like, and they were wearing wigs that were very like stock standard and old looking.
They look like nests, birds' nests. That's what those wigs look like.
I don't know, like, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, definitely check Vogue, British Vogue. And there's a cover of like 5 or 6 Sudanese, mainly Sudanese, but I think there also some of them are like Rwandese and models. They're going to be the next it faces of modeling, right? But then the funny thing is, you can walk away from that cover not remembering one face or one
1,000%,
because the lighting was so bad. It was just like white, almost like instead of whitewashing, they were blackwashed. Like it was.
They look like rubber. They look like I don't know how to explain it. Blue black.
They had they look like leather, very leathery, and there's no distinction. We're meant to be elevating these voices so they get visibility and we remember them and we notice them. But like, if you pointed out a South Sudanese model and said she was on one of them on the cover, I would just be like, oh, okay, like because I really didn't distinctly remember any of them. They almost.
I remember like looking and having to like search. I was like, who am I looking for here? Like it was very and
the modeling industry, fashion industry has had a huge problem with doing this, exploiting our very dark girls anyway to begin with. Almost like you're a puppet in a show. Not necessarily for beauty, but just for, she's really different.
Yes,
you know?
It's almost like the shock factor. They want
Yeah, exactly. They do this with albinos as well, where they're like, this is weird, but it's like, it's not celebrated in a beautiful way.
Yes, I'm with you. And I agree. And I agree. For me, it's like, why can't we see like a Fenty Beauty range of like Black and colored people like in everything? People who look like me. And I think we've spoken ample times about us loving the likes of Gabrielle Union, of Kelly Rowlands, of the Ryan Destinies, who are dark-skinned girls, but like, it's like this shade, Ashley Blaine, like all, so I'm with you. And I think maybe this is the extremes we have to come to eventually come to an understanding. But we also had Alec Weck, from years and years ago, and we, still not getting to the point, But by the way, Kelly Rowland is looking delicious. He's like
that skin, girl. Girl. But I mean, last episode we spoke on comparison culture, and like, do you feel in amongst your friends when it comes to colorism, that you compare yourselves to each other? Like, do you think any of your friends think, oh, I'm hotter than, or would get shocked if a guy approached you first, or would expect, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you reckon there's
happened comparison to me with family before? Weird. But I don't know about my friends so much thinking, oh, I'm hotter. I think too, I happen to have, for the most part, friends who are very like real talk, like very, about it. But I think it definitely can happen in subtle ways, especially when you're dating. Dating is the pits. Yeah,
because you said you've had it with family.
Yeah. Dating is the pits. Like, it's just like, how come they're talking to you? Why is he talking to you? Like, oh, you should be happy he's talking to you. Like, strange comments like that. And you're like, bruh, he should be happy he's talking to me. Like, full stop.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No, for sure.
But yeah, I think it is there. There's definitely an element of it that can come maybe unintentionally. Have you ever watched that movie called I don't know what word they use, but basically how in the friendship group, there's always the like ugly friend who
yes.
She's
either ugly or she's a bit bigger.
Yes. Who makes the others feel good. I was very hurt. I was like, like, wait, what? Why are we doing this? But I've noticed it in some friendship groups. Maybe it's subconsciously, maybe they just love the person's personality, but I don't know. Do you feel it happens?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially, I think, I mean, now I'm not so much in my 30s because I have a set group of friends that I obviously have been through things with. Having said that, though, in my set group of friends, I do have boys who prefer lighter-skinned girls and are very, very open to telling you that they like them yellow-boned. So that's interesting because it's like, oh, okay. But I think it's a journey that they also need to do within themselves because that's what they've also been told is beautiful. And it ties into other things as well, like hair. They expect the girls to also have weaves instead of braids. And so it's like a lot of status building things that we've put up in our community. And obviously colorism comes into it, you know. But in amongst like boys approaching me, definitely, especially on a night out, when you get a guy who's like maybe lighter skinned or maybe the cute guy in his group, and then he approaches, maybe that's when you start to realize that we compare ourselves and we rank ourselves with peers. Because you get people who will be like, why is he talking to you? Like what you just said. And you're like, but why not? Like, do you think I'm less than you? Like, that's literally what you're trying to say, right? Or they'll be like, or they'll pull you aside, like especially in high school, like early uni. Oh, so what's going on with you? And such and such, you know, so it's like, okay. So you don't expect that I will just be approached by this guy. You expect that there's some story or how do you know him? Or so especially as we've talked about, our dating in high school was really like,
that was the pits, guys.
So like at those times as well, when you finally get a guy who's cute and talking to you, it almost felt like, why? And for me, it's quite funny because obviously I go home maybe like every 2 years. And when I was single, you go home when you're ready to mingle and meet up with people. But then people are still stuck in that high school mentality. So then they'll be like, and obviously I personally think I've had a glow up. So then they're like, it's not computing. It's not computing. Because then they're like, but we remembered you like this. And then now the hot guy who used to be hot in high school, who's still hot now, why is he talking to you? You know, but they still think of you like, so it's like it ties in comparison, it ties in colorism, it ties in so many.
Girl, you just opened like, and things just started popping in my head. I was like, oh yeah. Memories. Literally like when you're like, who's the guy like you met up with, whatever, and then you show the photo like, he's cute, and you're like, it's not like, he's so cute, girl. It's like, like how?
For you, he's cute for you. How did you get him? How
did you? And I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this, but it's true. You're so. Oh my gosh, so right. So right. We could go
and I think that's why I hate those Hollywood tropes, because they do also do the opposite. So they make the darker skinned girls feel inferior. And then they make the lighter skinned girls feel superior. And it's like, no, this is not real. It shouldn't be reality. You know, you shouldn't expect that when a guy walks through the room because you're lighter, he will talk to you first. Or because you're darker, he won't show you any interest. Like, that's not normal. It really is not normal.
At all. But but do you think that colorism then is worse in Black culture than in other cultures? I don't know. For me,
being Black, it feels the caste system.
The caste system for me, I'm like, yo, that's next level. I won't lie. Like, I'll be honest. I was like, when I found out about it, I was like, say what now? Like, it's bad. I won't lie.
I think from what I've seen of it and the experiences I've heard, yeah, because it's like almost like having a resume, right? Then you put your casts in there, and then you also can't be mixing, and then also families come into it, right? Because then the family be like, So, and to be honest, actually, in like for Indians especially, you see in their social media and the entertainment industry, you will never see the darker Indians, like the, so
only see the Priyanka Chopras of the world.
Yeah, and then even they are like accused of lightening and brightening their skin. Because then you see her when she wasn't as popular, and you see her now, and this is where it becomes tricky. Is it access, or is it seeking these products on purpose? And I think Black people also have the same thing. We have a huge problem with skin lightening. And people using all these toxic ingredients. And then you come back from diaspora, people are expecting it as well. Like, you got money now, so you best be looking lighter. As you said about Zokawa Chuka, you've come back lighter. It's like, was that intentional, or was that better food and better products?
Girl, this dish is layered. Shucks. I think. Yeah, man. Like, I think it's a very sad reality. I think with Black people, how we are quote unquote lucky, which is not really lucky, is that people understand that Black people, we struggle, so you won't have access. So there's no real pressure to go to the extremes of skin lightening, or to pull a Michael Jackson or something like that. But I think we definitely have a lot. And it ties into colonialism in that mix.
Oh, definitely.
Because then it's all in that pot, and it's a whole lot of mess to unravel and take yourself out of that mindset and mentality. But yay, girl,
because you see, like West Africans, I think, have it bad as well. There's a lot of bleaching that happens. Jamaica, I just saw a documentary on people in Jamaica bleaching from a young age. So you get some cultures that are very much into it. And then I think Zimbabwe, for the most part, even though we do this on each other, we expect it to be natural. So we've been spared. But having said that, now with access going to South Africa, going to all these countries, we are getting into the lightening, but it's not as big, I suppose, than other parts of the world. But that's why I think we'll depend on their genes to hopefully get them there. But it's sad. It's so sad.
But how do you even handle that? Do you feel like you're over the colorism issue, or the scars that, or the talk, or do you think you've moved past it? And how do you even deal with it? Or, when someone's like, oh, and Achuka, and what's that? How do you handle those situations now?
I think for me, I'm still learning. It's still a work in progress in terms of, it's not only layered with colorism, but it's also laid in with hair. So I won't necessarily go to the beach all the time. One, I don't want to get dark. Two, I don't want to ruin my hair. So it's like double whammy, right? So even if when I have braids, which means I can go and swim freely, then I'm also now thinking I don't want to be in the sun. So it's like, I can't and actually Black people are known, like doctors say, even though our skin is made for melanin, a lot of us actually have a vitamin D deficiency because we avoid the sun. And we're only now learning that we need to also put sunscreen on. It's because we're used to the sun. We can handle quote unquote, the sun a bit more. Doesn't mean we don't protect ourselves. So that's also another thing. People used to always think sunscreen is not for us. Like, it doesn't matter, you don't have to put it on. So I think it's such a layered topic still. Even when buying makeup, you're so worried about not going too light, because then it's what are you trying to do? Then you're also worried about not going too dark, finding the right shade for you. Then you've mentioned Fenty. You have to depend on brands like that have a wide selection. Otherwise you look pasty or you look too dark. So it's
there's no winning.
I'm still dealing, battling. In terms of my inner self, I've always been okay with it. I've always been of the mindset, and you brought up Kelly Rowland, which is a good example of whatever tone I have, I want it to be the same. I don't want to have dark hands and a light face, or light face and dark, like, you know, just
Yes.
can it just be healthy and the same, whatever color it is. So I think I'm happy that I have that feeling, and that's what I like. But I definitely still have some work to do.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think it's true. Like it's an ongoing, and I've had to over the years like try and like just embrace my beauty, like that I am beautiful. Like, I mean, look at these bones that, you know, so Mama and Papa Dubes blessed me with.
Beautiful.
You know, thank you. And just embracing that beauty is in so many facets. It's not just the skin, your skin tone. It's also like your features, your body, your essence, your energy, your vibe, the person. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that contributes to beauty. And I think it's also just like embracing, like, this is who I am, and it doesn't make me less of a person. And if someone cannot value me because they think I'm too dark or whatever, it's like, hey, that's your funeral. Like, I know me. And it's about, like you said, being healthy, taking care of it, just good skin practices. Like, you know, one thing, like, my sister has beautiful skin. Like, her skin is just like one complexion. So I'm like, girl, like, I want to take care of my skin, like that healthy, you know, the glow. That's what I want. In terms of the inner work, I've mentioned before how my mom kind of, you know, would prop me up and be like, oh, you're my Black beauty. I think that went a long way to help me. I've said this before. And I think it's also realizing that, unfortunately, the world, we're damaged. It's a damaged place, but that doesn't mean you are damaged, if that makes sense. And ongoing, constantly. That's why I celebrate the women I've mentioned on here, like Tendai Chitima, we had on the podcast, like, beautiful. Just like beautiful, beautiful women who look like me. And that's the importance of representation. If we ask the question all the time, like, why are people on about it? It's so that we start to feel like we belong to in the world as we are. And that's what I'll say. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's a can of worms. It really is.
I think every topic we pretty much have chosen so far has been a can of worms. Like, you can go in and go like so many avenues. Yeah. But for sure. Any final takeaways, words of advice to our listeners? Because apparently we give advice because we can.
So psychology. We're breaking the psychology.
Please don't come for us, psychologists. Please.
I think just being happy being you. Like, it really is important. Like, I think, I mean, comparing yourself to people all the time and wondering why you're lighter. As I said, colorism is a finicky thing. There's one room you could be the lightest. The next room you could be the darkest. So then what then? What are you gonna do? You know, you can't please everybody. So you just have to make sure you're happy, you're healthy, and let your inner glow shine as well, and not let these stereotypes you've held on for so long to, you know, keep holding us back.
I'm with you.
And like, sometimes calling it out, like, even as you said, amongst your peers, if you see something that's like, you know, you can say, hey, dude, like, we've moved on from it. This is 2022. Like, seriously.
For sure.
That's the only advice I have. And you?
For sure. I think it's the work you have to work on yourself. That's all you can do. And it's about re-evaluating, assessing why maybe we think, like, we had aha moments in this episode, like, why do we think the way we do? Does it affect you though? And being honest. Sometimes we're scared to be honest with ourselves, like, hey, maybe I am a colorist. Like, it's okay, because then that's where you can start being like, but why? And, you know, work on that and on that self-confidence. And remember, brown skin girl, skin just like we say pearls, but we're not saying white like the pearls, but glossy like the pearl. Skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I wouldn't trade you for anybody else thing. So look, man, we are all on this planet, on this world, because we all deserve to be loved, cherished, to be here. So you are here for a reason. But anywho. Yeah, thank you for being with us. Before
beautiful words.
Yeah, I try. I just borrowed them from Beyonce a little bit. Zim shout out for this episode.
Our Zim shout out is a beautiful young girl who we're getting ready to go into the Winter Olympics, and it just makes me think of the Summer Olympics. And one of our Zimbabwean swimmers who was there, Donata Katai, she also popped up in my my periphery because I saw some AS results Zimbabwean school, and she got like all A's, and I'm like, my God, this girl's like smashing goals and also doing well in school, which is a mecca for any parent.
African parents'
so
dream.
She's definitely a young queen on the rise, and I think today we have to give her all the flowers. Keep going, Donata.
Shout out to you doing the thing and doing it beautifully. I really feel like Gen Z, they're giving us a run for them. Like,
I know, and flying that flag, bruh.
1,000%. Kudos to you. Thanks, Amanda, for being here with me, as always, taking this time out. Thank you to everyone who listens to our shenanigans. Appreciate it.
Third season. Third
season. Like, we're still shocked. Can you not tell? We're still shocked. Thank you so much.
We'll be grandmothers during our 20th season, and we'll be like,
ain't nothing wrong with that. I ain't mad at that. I'll be like, hey, yo, young ones, let me tell you. Thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate you. Get in touch with us. It's Layered on Instagram. It's Layered Pod, Twitter, and it's layeredpod@gmail.com. Email, send out your shout outs, comment, all the love. Please rate and review us where you listen. We appreciate it. Share and let your family and friends in on this podcast if you like it. I mean, if you don't be like, we hate this podcast, don't listen. It's fine.
I share anyway.
But we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.